Apologize for the noise right now, but anyways. Hey, what is up, you guys? It is Haley here from Should You Buy It. So today, well, we're just going to talk. I have not posted on this channel in a very long time, and a lot of things have been a factor for it. Now, I do have like 5 or 6 videos that I have recorded, I have not edited, that I need to edit, and that need to go up on this channel that I've just been procrastinating. But basically, we're here just kind of do a life update. So if you don't really follow me on anything else, which I don't really post a lot on anything else, I had my second child recently. Her name is Riley. I'll show you guys at the end of this video. But her basically coming into this world was a huge, for lack of better words, nerve-wracking experience. And so that's why I've kind of just shied away from everything and kind of just focused on that. I've also never had 2 children that I've had to take care of, and it is mind-boggling when you add one more into the mix, because you can't give most of your attention onto one. Now you have to split it on 2. So that was a huge and new experience, and just a lot of other things. So basically, at the end of my pregnancy, the last roughly 6 weeks of my pregnancy were really rough on me. I was having excruciating hip pain. I was going to the chiropractor. I was having excruciating constipation that only meds and the chiropractor were basically helping. We kind of figured out the second one, and then the hip pain was basically something you have to just deal with. So roughly from 30 weeks on, I was in pain every day. I did not deal with this with my first child, and I mean, a little closer to the end I dealt with it, but nothing like this. The only thing that would help was heat, so I took baths every single night. Every second I could, I was in the bathtub to help with the pain, and you kind of just deal with it. I talked to my doctor about it. Obviously, there's nothing you can really do, and basically, it got to the point where I was like, you have to induce me before my due date, because I will not make it there. It hurts so bad. So 36 weeks happens, that appointment, and I'm actually progressing pretty well for this pregnancy. And with my first son, he was considered a big baby. He was 8 pounds even, and his head was huge. It was in the 95th percentile. And so then my doctor wanted to do an ultrasound my next appointment, which I would have been 37 weeks, to make sure this child wasn't like that, and if that was the possibility of the excruciating hip pain I was having. So I was like, okay, cool. We do that ultrasound, and we actually get the complete opposite. My second child, Riley, she was actually way too small, and she had stopped growing inside, basically. It's called, oh gosh, I'll put it up here somewhere. It's basically where there's a growth restriction inside. It has nothing to do with like a mental state or anything. They're just small, and they tried to figure out why. She was measuring at 35.5 weeks when she should have been 37 weeks. Actually, she was probably measuring about 2 weeks behind. So then I got officially put as a high-risk pregnancy. I was like that at the end with Jason, but not as bad as this one. Now, we have a couple of factors that we think, looking back at it now, that might have been the problem with that. Roughly around the time that she stopped growing, that she was measuring at, we did have to put my cat Franklin to sleep. You guys have seen him here before on the channel a dozen times. He always usually walks in front of the camera. Some weird fluke happened, and either he got a blood clot that went to his lungs, or he had a stroke, or something along the lines cut off oxygen to his brain, and he ended up having irreversible brain damage. It was weird couple days, but that was roughly at that point in time, and Ethan and I were actually really worried because it was so emotional that I was going to go into preterm labor from this. I mean, we woke up one night and had to rush him to our emergency vet. I had to go on my own because we still had our child, Jason, and I had to deal with this basically as much as I could on my own and leave him there, and then a couple days later they said he's not getting better. So we did have to deal with that. We don't know if that was an issue or if it was just weird timing, but you know. So basically, after another, well, we go in our next week. I have to go every 2 to 3 days to the OBGYN, which I love my OBGYN. He is really great, and he saved my child's life, basically. But she basically stopped reacting to outside stimulus, and how you know this is through a stress test. So I went in that following Monday after we learned of her being really small, and I failed the stress test. So I was sent immediately up to the hospital. I did another stress test there and an ultrasound, and within the 3 to 4 days from the ultrasound before, she had not grown any, which she should have grown maybe roughly a quarter of a pound to half a pound. She had not grown at all, and so then, but she was reacting to the stimuli that the hospital was able to give her, so, which could have been also with the ultrasound. Someone was kind of just poking and prodding on my stomach, and she was reacting. So they thought it was just a fluke. Sent me back home. I went to my OBGYN a couple days later and did another stress test, and she failed again. I had made sure I had eaten that morning. I had made sure I had some sugar in me and all this other jazz. And so then we're sent up to the hospital again. We do another stress test, and then we do basically a monitoring ultrasound, which, if you don't know what that is, which I didn't, even though I had one with Jason, I just didn't realize it, they go through and they make sure everything and every part of your baby is okay. It's like an hour ultrasound, and if you've ever been pregnant, being on your back for an hour gets really bad and you get really sick from it, and so then they have to take breaks for you to turn over so you can not pass out. I almost passed out. So they did that, and basically her diaphragm failed that ultrasound. So there was something wrong in her diaphragm. My doctor came in, and he basically said, "You're having this baby today." So I'm like, okay, we're going to be induced. We were induced with Jason. It's no big deal. He looks at me, and he's like, "You're going to have your baby within the hour. I want to do a C-section." So I was like, kind of disappointed, actually. I wanted to go into labor naturally with this child because I didn't with Jason, and I just never knew the feeling of my water breaking. I never knew the feeling of having the constant contractions at home. Our plan was to labor at home as much as possible because of Jason, and then be able to go up to the hospital and have less labor there. But obviously that wasn't going to happen. He's like, "We're doing a C-section. I don't want to put any more stress on this child because the little bit of stress we're putting on this child isn't really good." So I'm like, well, shit. Okay, I guess I don't really have a choice. It is for my child, even though I am pretty upset and nerve-wracking. So basically after that, a bunch of doctors, a bunch of nurses came in, anesthesiologists, all that. They took blood, they did COVID testing, they did all this. And within half an hour, I was having my child via C-section down in one of their OR rooms. So usually with a C-section, basically, they do all of that, and then you get to hold your child. Well, because my child did have the growth restriction, the NICU team was there, and she basically was wheeled off to the NICU. She ended up having what they call a pneumothorax, which I had heard the term before, but I didn't know exactly what it was. What it was, or what it is, basically, is it is a pocket of air around certain organs, and that pocket of air is not supposed to be there, and it can hurt. So basically she had a pocket of air next to one of her lungs, and then a pocket of air around her heart. So basically, if we didn't treat the air around her lungs and around her heart, the air could possibly expand and cause her to go into cardiac arrest, because the heart cannot move and beat. And then with the lung, it's kind of the same thing, but the lung will collapse. So she was put into the NICU on basically in a fancy little astronaut incubator, and kind of was in that. She was in the NICU for 4 days, and we were able to take her home. Thank God. She got a lot better with the help from our amazing NICU team and the doctors and everything. But knowing now, I'm glad my doctor pushed me into doing a C-section, because the pressure of coming out of the birth canal probably would have made her I mean, she would have probably stopped breathing and we would have ended up in a C-section anyways, and it would have probably been more traumatic. So yeah, that's how my child was born. It was very nerve-wracking, to say the least. I've never had to have anything emergent like that as an adult. I have broken bones, but I don't feel like it was that nerve-wracking. But it was an experience. Would I want to do it again? No. I will say, any other mother who has to go through that, it is the most nerve-wracking thing in the world, also knowing that you don't know what's happening to your child and you can't get up and you can't hold your child. I couldn't hold my child for the first 2 days, which was the hardest part of this, not knowing if she was going to be okay. I had to be wheeled down to the NICU every day, well, for the first day and a half until I could actually walk. And with an emergency C-section, basically, it's a lot rougher on you, and the doctors are a lot rougher on you because they want to get the baby out as soon as possible because they don't know what's happening. So you have a bigger scar. It usually is, it's a lot. The recovery is a lot different than a vaginal delivery. I personally will never want to get a C-section again. I never plan on having any more children, so hopefully that is part of it. But yeah, so that's how baby Riley was born into this world. She was born February 4th. I am recording this. It is February 20th. So she has been alive for 16 days, and we are slowly just trying to survive. Especially with sleep, with 2 of them now, because at least with Jason, I could just take a nap when I wanted to, and I can't do that. So yeah, that's kind of just a life update. It's kind of crazy. I never expected that to happen. I'm just glad my doctor was due diligent, and he knew what the hell he was doing. He knew that, you know, he did not want me to try to give birth naturally or vaginally, and I mean, he saved my child's life. We would have lost her. That's pretty much it. I don't know what else to talk about. So yeah, there'll hopefully be more videos coming soon. I don't know. I barely have energy to function right now, so I do not have energy to film, edit, and upload videos. I will hopefully get those other videos out here ASAP. But if you guys want to talk or anything, let me know in the comments down below. I am here to talk about mostly anything. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Oh, wait, you want to see Riley? Let's go see. Bye-bye. Bye. There she is. She's baby Riley. She's out. Milk drunk. Alright. Bye.